Hi guys, my name is Hailyn. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch my YouTube video. I've been making content for over a decade, but never having the gut to upload it. So I'm finally in a space where I'm ready to share my personal adoption story and a lot of different things that's going on in my life. So to give you a little background, I was born in Ethiopia and I was adopted when I was 7 years old to a white Mormon family in a small town in Utah, Heber City, Utah. So they adopted 6 Ethiopians and then they had 6 of their own biological children. So it was a very big, diverse family. So one of the reasons I really want to focus on adoption and just the different stories of trauma and just healing and growth is because I think when it comes to adoption, there's 3 sides. So there's the biological family, which is usually forgotten. There's the adoptee version, like myself, and then there'll be the adopted parent side. So I really wanted to create a platform where we could have these hard conversations and talk about the different perspectives. And I just ask that you guys have an open mind, an open heart, and try and put yourself in my situation and in all the different perspectives, and just try not to be so judgmental because everyone has a story, and I think there's power in being vulnerable and listening to people share their stories. So with my personal adoption, I would say it was unique. It definitely had its ups and downs, like most families, but unfortunately there was sexual abuse in my story. So I figured to start out my first episode, I wanted to bring on my adopted mom, DeAnna, to kind of go over just different topics that I think are important to discuss. Hi guys, so this is my beautiful mother, DeAnna, and I just want to say thank you for allowing me to have these conversations with you because I know it's not easy and I know it's not your favorite thing to do, speaking about our life in public, so thank you.
I've been asked a lot of questions over the years, and I just think it's important for people to understand, to try to understand, to at least know what the background is.
Yes, I think it's important to speak your truth, and your story is your story, my story is my story, and it doesn't take away from anything. And I think just being open-minded and understanding different perspectives is important. Right. So to start off, I guess the first question is always, why did you adopt us? Why did you adopt 6 kids into Utah? And what were your motivations and emotions behind all that?
My husband and I had always talked about, even before we were married, adopting children from a third world country, or a child. We, in fact, tried to adopt children from Vietnam when the orphans were released when the war ended, and we're told that they had already all been placed. We had 6 kids in 12 years, basically, so the adoption got put on the back burner, but we still talked about it off and on. And one day he came home from work and said that he'd been listening to a program on NPR from a woman who had a company called Americans for African Adoption. And yeah, so he said, we're not getting any younger. By then, we were well into our 40s, and our youngest child was 13. And so I said, fine, if we're going to do it, let's get it done.
And you had some of your kids that were already married.
We did, yeah.
At this time, actually.
Right, yeah, I had 2 grandchildren. Anyway, we decided if we were going to do it, we better talk to each child. We talked to each of our kids separately, personally, to make sure that they were accepting, and they were all excited about it. They all said, don't just get 1, get 2. And I said, I know we don't want to have the only black kid in Heber because there were none, basically 0. There weren't even any Latinos or anything at that time. It was just a small farming community of families, family.
In a little country hick town.
Exactly. Anyway, so all of our kids said, well, get a brother and a sister. And so we said, okay, we can do that. I mean, with all the kids in the world that need to be adopted, we can certainly get a brother and a sister.
Sorry. But is there a reason, is it harder to adopt within the same country? Because I've heard, because a lot of people are like, why do white people adopt Africans or Asians or something? And what I've been told is that it's more expensive to adopt within the U.S. and the process is a lot easier to
That's
adopt.
what I've heard.
Okay.
We didn't look into adopting in the U.S., so
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, so then we talked to our parents. All 4 of our parents were still alive. And they thought we were weird to be doing something like that at our age. Because, like I said, our youngest was already 13. But they said, yeah, we'll support you. So we contacted the woman who had the organization and told her we wanted a brother and a sister. She said that she had a brother and a sister from Ethiopia, and their parents had died, and they had an older brother and sister that were living with a grandma, but she didn't want them adopted, and these 2 kids were in a bad way. So they were in an orphanage, but they were not healthy, and they were just little, and so we said, sure, fine. And then I had to find out where Ethiopia was because neither one of us really knew. You know, I figured it was kind of by Egypt, but anyway, we found out where Ethiopia was. I had no idea what the kids looked like, and I remember the day that we got pictures of them in the mail. I was so excited. My married daughter lived next door, and I ran over to her house with the envelope that I was scared to death to open.
Do you think we were going to be ugly?
I didn't know what you were going to look like. If I'd known how you were gorgeous, I would have just ripped it open. But anyway, so I took it over. Jill said, I'll open it. So she opened it. She was, oh, Mom! So I looked, and oh my gosh, they were so darling. And I couldn't believe it. And I started to cry because they were so cute. And and I just knew they were mine. And then as time went on, every once in a while, and you got to remember, this was in the, 92, I guess. And so it wasn't communication like we have it now, but everything was done on the telephone, usually long distance, and then letters sent and things like that. As time went on, Cheryl would send pictures of Alamitu and Murga to show us how they were doing. And one time there were Allie and Murga and this one little girl standing by him, all cute and cuddly, in all the pictures. And all my kids said, oh, let's get her too, she's so cute. And I said, oh, okay, but I don't think that's the same little girl. They've got on this dress in this picture and that dress in the other, and Allie and Murga have on the same clothes in every picture. No, they're the same girls, they insisted. So I said, okay, if we can get 2, we can get 3. So we checked with Cheryl, and lo and behold, she said, those are sisters. And it was her and her sister Kadist. And I said, okay, if we get 3, we can get 4. So we did all the work, and it took 2 years to get the kids. And it was a hard 2 years because I knew that things were tough in Ethiopia. And, you know, I'd go to bed at night and I'd think, nobody's kissing them goodnight, and nobody's reading them a story. And what if they're scared because they're all orphans? And, you know, are they being treated right? Are they hungry? And all these things.
They were told that we were orphans.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, so there's a lot to the story, but they were told that we were orphans, which my sister and I actually were not, but the 2 younger siblings that they were initially adopting, They were from outside of Addis Ababa.
Down in a very remote,
rural
undeveloped,
area.
way rural.
And so their parents had passed away, and so they came into the orphanage, and that's where my sister and I were, and that's how they mixed up.
But their mother worked in the orphanage.
Yeah,
but we did not know that.
Yeah, well, that part's not.
Should I not have said that yet? I said that.
That part is. There's so many layers to it. So we'll just say that they were told that we were all orphans, and so now from adopting two, now my sister and I are added. So it's Kidis and I that are biological siblings, and then Allie and Murga that are biological siblings. Now we're coming into one family, into your family, and so we'll go from there.
Okay, stop me if I say something I shouldn't. Anyway, so when the process was finally legalized, it happened to be that they were coming home 2 days before my daughter, another daughter, was to be married. And we were having the reception at our house that evening. And, I had to get everything ready. And so he went over to get them, the kids, and was gone for 2 weeks finishing up all the legal work in Ethiopia. And I was home trying to get things ready for the wedding. He sent measurements of all the kids because I wanted Murga to be in a cute little tuxedo, and I wanted the girls to be in these little dresses with white pinafores, and I wanted, yeah.
Nice and
you remember that?
Yes. 80s.
Oh, very, yeah. And the fluffy, anyway, yeah. Looked so cute. Anyway, so I was making their clothes and getting all ready, and the day came for them to come and home on the plane, and I swear it was the longest wait ever in the airport. And at that time, everybody could go to the airport, and so all of our family, our brothers and sisters and their kids, and my grandma. Yeah, there were so many. Oh my gosh, everyone was so excited. Oh, maybe I should tell you this, that we kind of worried how the kids would be accepted in Heber.
Yes, that's actually one of the questions.
Okay, I won't go into that.
No, you can.
Okay, yeah. So, but I thought about it, and I have a lot of faith, and I prayed and made sure that we were doing the right thing, and I just felt like whether the kids were accepted by others or not, we loved them. And we would take care of them, and we would give them a good life, and we all had each other, and both my husband and I had a huge family, and they were all accepting, and we just decided, whether the other people don't like them, we will. So did you guys, you did think about like the emotional and the identity, racial, all those issues that... Well, as much as I'd never been exposed to... Yeah. I hadn't even really known any black people. Utah used to be pretty darn white. There were blacks, but I didn't know any of them. Anyway, yeah. And so we had talked to the school, and they were prepared. They were all in elementary school. Anyway, so we went to the airport and waited, and then all of a sudden they came down, out of the little portal, and oh my gosh, I swear, I just got down on the floor.
We didn't know any English.
No, they did not.
They taught us ears, eyes, and mouth, and then we knew the I Love You song, so we knew our names. My name is Hailyn. I am 7 years old. I don't even think I could say all that. So
no, you
it was
couldn't.
Very,
you couldn't.
We got off the plane and we just saw
a
lot of white people that we've only seen on TV.
Besides that, all the people in the airport that were coming through to their gates saw this humongous family crowd, and what's going on? And there were so many people behind us that we didn't even know, that were just and they were just all clapping, and jeez, it was amazing. It was totally akin to giving birth. Those were my happiest times, and this was too. And they were so darling. They had on their native dress. They were just so
I had my gold earrings.
And she had
my long nails. That were
Oh, she did. And these big dangly earrings, and her hair was hanging over her eye, and she had long hair, and Kadist and Allie had to have their heads shaved because they had lice.
Technically we all did, but mine just grew.
Grew that fast?
Sorry, Kid and Allie. Yeah, they all shaved it off. But
yeah.
So what would you say are some of the initial culture shocks or adjustments you faced as a family after our arrival?
Well, it was crazy because my daughter and her husband had sold their house and were building a new house, and she had 3 kids by then, 2 little girls and a little boy, and baby boy that had been in NICU for weeks and was grumpy as could be, and he was on oxygen, and we had this wedding 2 days after, and the kids were eating everything that wasn't nailed down, and a sugar high.
I was throwing up.
And she would eat too much. Yeah. Her little arms were about that big, honestly, like a newborn. And I don't know, it was just, anyway, it was wild. And then we had been to Mexico a few months before and invited a girl that we met there.
Exchange student? Mm-hmm. Exchange student?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To come and live with us. She came the night of the wedding, the night before the wedding. She couldn't speak English. She only spoke Spanish. And then I had these kids, and Jill had to go to work in the day, and so I was trying to tend her.
Jill's the
oldest sister. I mean, it was nuts. So then Erica, the girl from Mexico, her mother came to make sure that it was safe for her to be with us, because she really didn't know us. She couldn't speak English.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh, it was nuts.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Kadis did not want to wear that white pinafore, and she literally gave herself
My older sister was such a tomboy, and they had us in these puffy, big dresses, and she was like, oh, no, thank you. She wanted to wear her baseball cap, her jeans, play soccer, so they put her in the dress, and she forced herself to get a bloody nose.
One of the bridesmaids, I didn't know that, one of the bridesmaids washed the pinafore.
What's the pinafore?
The white thing.
Oh, yep. It's like, what is that prairie movie?
Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
Well, so it was in style.
We were just all over the place. We were jumping on the tramp. We were like these little show and tells because everyone wanted to come see us.
Oh yeah.
We did have. They had 2 translators for us.
So we had found them before we got the kids, because we knew they could speak Amharic and could help us, and they lived in Salt Lake, so
they came down and helped us a lot, because there was, for us, it was the language, everything was different.
Oh, everything.
Like it was just
the food, the sugar.
Yeah, the complete culture shock. Just a lot of white people, a lot of, it was just weird. It was just like, it was exciting. I think for me, I had my older sister, so I think I felt like safe. I don't really remember too much.
Kadis was in charge.
Yeah.
She was totally in charge, and she.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was just very different. And I don't know that, for me, I understood that it was permanent. I think it was just the idea in the orphanage, they just had us excited, like, oh, you're going to America, like, they painted this thing of like money grows on trees and all your problems.
And you guys really thought it did.
Yeah.
And you thought that we only wore our clothes once. One of you told me that.
Well,
and threw them away and got new ones the next day.
Yeah, there's a lot of little theories that we had about America, which is all false. There was a lot of challenging parts, especially in the beginning, because we were accepted. For the most part, because especially school and stuff, we did well.
And the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We had one neighbor from Alabama that
had some racial issues happening, but
then that, one of the other neighbors threatened him, so.
Yeah. Overall, it was fine as far as like being accepted and stuff.
It was. The school was amazing.
Yeah.
I guess Kadist and Hailyn had been to school before, but the other 4 hadn't. DeAnna had only gone to.
Pause. So after they adopted 4 of us.
I forgot about that part.
After they adopted me, the 2 original kids, and then me and my sister, they went back a year later and adopted.
No. Well, yeah, because when Lon was there getting you 4, he called me and said that he had taken Allie and Murga down to their village to say goodbye. Well, yeah, he took all of you down to Allie and Murga's village to say goodbye to them. And lo and behold, the grandma said she didn't want the 2 older siblings that we were told. Anyway.
So Allie and Murga from the village that were the 2 initial kids that were being adopted. When my dad came to Ethiopia to get the 4 of us, so Allie, Murga, me, and Kadist, to come to America, he took us to go see the families and say bye. So we traveled to Kursalala, I believe, to go say bye to their family.
But he still didn't know that your mother was your mother.
Yeah, but that's not part of it right now.
I know, but I know. Sorry, I keep.
No, I mean, because I'm trying
these teasers.
I'm trying to make it like it's very confusing, so I'm trying to make it very not confusing, I guess. That we're not in the best condition, and they also begged, "Can you please, if you're going to take our siblings, can you please take us?" Long story short, a year later,
we put him in the orphanage. He called and asked, "What are we?" I said, "We'll put him in the orphanage. We'll get him, make sure they get healthy, and we'll sort this out."
Yeah.
And I mean, it took me, seriously, to be honest, it took me probably 2 months before one day I just said, "I give up. They're ours."
Well,
because we had thought maybe my brother and his wife would adopt them, and they were considering that, but we could break up the family, and they're my kids.
Breaking up a family, though, Kadis and I did have a younger sister.
That we had also told the woman we adopted through that we would take her because when we found out about her, but she said, "Oh, she's already been adopted."
Yeah, Kadis and I had a younger sister, 5 years younger than me. When my dad got to the orphanage, he found out about her. And he said, "Oh, we don't want to separate the sisters. We'll take her." I can say Cheryl. I don't need to say her last name. The one in charge of this adoption told him that somebody else was going to adopt her, which it didn't end up working out. And my dad said he wanted to keep them together if anything happens. He ended up with a different family, which are wonderful people, but we were separated. And so...
And she went to Boston.
Yeah, well, she's...
Ended up going to Boston.
Massachusetts. She's New Hampton.
Oh, okay, okay.
But with Badani and Murga, or Badani and Shumba, they ended up joining they came to America 2 years later?
No, 1 year later.
Oh, 1 year later?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the culture shock. Can you describe the process of helping us build a sense of belonging even within the religion, the LDS Mormon? It's called LDS, you said.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
What was that transition, or was there even a transition?
Well, we were told the foster father in Addis was a member of the church, and he had asked for permission to take the kids to church with him. So
they said he was a member of...
He was, and so was Magursa.
Interesting.
And they anyway, so the kids were used to going to church. And the thing I was worried about most the first time we took them with us is them partaking of the sacrament, because I'm not kidding, they ate everything except some things. But they loved bread, and I could just see the sacrament being passed and then, So I'm just thinking, okay, everybody knows. And lo and behold, those little cuties had their arms folded, and they reverently took one piece of bread and passed it down. Anyway, they knew primary, and they were just so cute in church. When Badani and Chris and Shumba came the next year, they had already been baptized because they had been taught by the missionaries, and they accepted the church.
And my family, my biological family, is Ethiopian Orthodox religion, and then Allie and them, their family is Muslim. And so we came from all types of different religious backgrounds, and then now we were learning about a whole new.
Well, and it wasn't, we did not want to force them, but we did want them to go to church with us and to learn. And
Force?
were you forced?
I would say
you get baptized or else.
I would say we were. I don't think as kids you have an option. I don't think you have an option as a kid.
Yeah, you didn't. That's true.
Dad was very
okay. Oh, that's one thing. Allie was 5. Haley was 7. Murga was 8, and Kadis was 9. Let's see. Badane was 11, and Shumba was 10. So they were younger. Yeah. Okay.
Well, some people don't know about the LDS rules or anything. You get baptized when you're 8. Yeah. So that's what.
Well, you can get baptized after, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, because some religions baptize when you're a baby, some different ages. So for the Mormons, it's 8. How did your adoption affect your day-to-day life?
It was nuts. It was because they couldn't speak English, and we didn't speak Amharic. It was a lot of charades, and when we really got in trouble, we would call Tsagai and Adonich,
our translators,
and then translate over the phone, all long distance in those days. And they came up to visit us so often. They were so sweet. And then the kids came in August, both sets, and Adonich and Tsagai came on Halloween. And the kids had been there those few months, and they wouldn't speak Amharic to them. And because they learned English so fast. They did watch a lot of videos.
I think speaking to other kids who've been adopted the same age that also forget their language and learn English, I've learned that you want, as a kid, you want to do whatever you can to fit in. You don't want to be like the other person. So I think for me, it was straightening my hair. That was the first thing.
And Allie used to iron her hair, and she ruined
my hair. Yeah, with the old school iron.
With an ironing board.
Wake her up 6 a.m. before my mom saw it and iron my hair.
Because I'd get mad. And
just really doing whatever we could to fit in, and I think the number one thing was speaking English. And so I think for us, we were lucky that, I'm an athlete, but my siblings were really great athletes.
Oh my gosh.
So they paved the way for us, and but
they were stars.
We learned English like pretty quick, and then it got to a point where we stopped speaking Amharic, and then
we did buy tapes, Amharic tapes, and we tried to force them to listen to these tapes to keep their language, and they just refused. And then when Badane and Shumba came the next year, we told the kids, please, let's try to have them keep their language. They kept it a little longer. And they still know a little bit. Badane is good because she speaks Amharic now fluently, because she went back and learned.
People will be in my comments with this. Okay. I think I speak it, but until you ask.
You sound really good.
Thanks, Mom. I'm learning it. So back to what we were just talking about. Would you say there was any type of network, organizations, or anything like that, communities for us?
There were, but
you thought so? I don't remember.
Well, there was an organization in Salt Lake, a church organization, and they were members of the Latter-day Saint Church that had, I can't even think what it's called, but they've still got it, and it's very successful. But we, Salt Lake was an hour away, and we just really didn't do it. And it just seemed that the kids, I'm sure there were things going on that I didn't know about, but to me, the kids were so well accepted. And the school bent over backwards.
Yeah, the schools were great, but I don't remember.
So good. And they had an ASL teacher. Yeah. She's.
But as far as like community and things, there was absolutely nothing I remember.
No, there wasn't.
It was us. We were not only we were the black kids, we were from Africa, people didn't even know where Ethiopia was. And so what would you say you guys did to keep the culture within our family?
We tried.
In Jeddah? Our dad
in Jeddah.
That was
terrible. Was there
he had to make it probably this pancake mix, I don't know. It was just,
well, and then we did get some teff, but it's...
Yeah. I think you guys...
We're not good at jar
I think you guys
makers.
tried
We did.
your best to keep us connected because we were able to communicate with our families. We were able to, like, we always listened to music and different things like that. You guys were always encouraging us to, like, you learn them hard, do this, do that, you know? I think that the hardest part is it was Utah. So I think had it been like Washington, D.C. or somewhere there was other
Ethiopians, period, or black people.
It would have been a different situation. But I think you guys didn't change our names, which I appreciate because a lot of people adopted Ethiopian kids after we did. Channel 4, ABC, came and did a lot of news articles on the family.
I love them very much, and I think they did a great thing, and they're like the best parents anyone could ever have.
And spread it out, and even one of the news interviewers
my sister Hailyn
ended up adopting a girl from Ethiopia after interviewing us. And a lot of people.
I don't want to say you guys were the first, but it seems like
no,
you guys
I'm sure we weren't the first.
You guys were definitely like one of the first. And so I think after my parents adopted us, they started an organization. There's a lot of people that have adopted because they went to Ethiopia with them, or there's definitely it's a family tree where it starts with them. And so, well, we talked about the memorable, difficult moments during early years of our adoption. What stands out?
That you would always eat too much and throw up on whoever was sitting next to you.
That was. I think it's.
Or they would spit on the floor at first.
There's a game, I don't know, it's a superstitious thing in Ethiopia growing up where if you lose something, you spit on your hand and you do this, and wherever the spit goes, you find it. And I tested it out like in middle school and high school, and it worked. So I still stand by that. So there's little things.
Well, and then when they very, very first came, they needed help showering, forced to make sure they knew how to do it. And one of my daughters, the one that just got married, took her wedding rings off, put them by the sink so her hands wouldn't get tangled in their hair. And when she was through showering all 4 kids, she went, put her rings on, and they were gone. We never have found them.
She got married 2 days after we were adopted, and then she washed us, and the ring has disappeared. I don't want to point fingers, but Allie, my sister, does love jewelry.
Keen, yeah. But we've asked her, now that she's in her 30s and she doesn't remember anything she says.
She stands with the answer. She did not. So how would you say you handled questions, comments from just people?
Every time we would take you guys someplace, I mean, we were a show. People would ask, because then it was unusual for white people to adopt black kids. Now people are adopting children.
It's the thing to do.
It's the thing.
But not anymore because adoptions are closed for the most part.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
You know, everybody wanted to know, and everybody wanted to watch, and they were pretty naughty to take any place at first. So my daughter and I decided we better just go on outings with 1 or 2 kids at a time, and we would take them into stores to show them how to behave. I remember Allie threw a fit and a half because one of the kids needed shoes and she didn't, and they got shoes and she didn't, and it was really ugly. And I ended up taking her out to the car, and I thought, oh my gosh, people are going to turn me in for beating her because she was screaming and kicking and anyway, yeah, there were.
I think so the same question, comments from strangers or peers, I think it's one of those where it would always be one of our parents, mostly our dad, when we go places, and then there was 6 of us. And so there was always, and it's Utah, and there's no black people, so there was always a tension, and we were just like these little, I don't want to say puppets, but
No,
everyone's
they
like,
were.
oh my gosh, where did you get them? Da, da, da.
Yeah. Well, and they were so pretty. They were so. Ethiopian features are beautiful.
So.
Which isn't why we got them from Ethiopia, because we had no idea. But they were attention getters.
Well, I think it was just the fact that we were in Utah and and it was the fact that there's a man with 6 children and we're calling him dad, and everyone's wondering, like, how does that work, And the youngest of their child, Matthew, he was 15 when we came to America, so we grew up with him only. The others were married and older. So the best is when we'd be with him and people would ask questions, my sister would say, oh, he's adopted. My parents always wanted a white boy. So definitely, I think it was, I think it was always questions, and then we were always in the news. There was always a story of the Kennards, they adopted 6, So I think that
newspapers on TV.
We got used to like speaking at firesides. It was always a thing where we had to speak about it. And I think I was younger, it was annoying, and I didn't really
It got
care
annoying
for it.
to me. It did. Other than when we could speak at a fireside and do some good. It was like a dog and pony show sometimes, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, so going with that, can you share any difficult incidents or moments that were difficult for you, for us?
Well, I was elderly. I was actually 59 when Badani and Shuma came. So I was 49.
Okay.
49. And it was hard to have a second family, and it was so hard to have that many kids. And all I could think of was, okay, they've got to eat, they've got to have clothes to wear, they've got to be clean, they've got to, and the homework, because every night for 2 hours, thank goodness my married kids lived close, and we'd split up all around the house, and each married kid would take a kid and sit and do their homework with them. I remember that, and I wouldn't have survived without
because you guys were
without
done
the other
raising
kids.
Children, and it was all starting over. So
yeah,
I think some of the disadvantages is having you guys be older too for us.
Yeah,
there
it was.
A lot of,
well, and they were just different because of how they had been raised versus how our kids had been raised. Like, they didn't know how to even color. And then take a page in a coloring book and one color, and color the whole page. And they hadn't been taught that. Or when we'd pull into the driveway, they'd open the door handle and jump out, and you can't do that. And then Badani got on his bike one day right after he came, and took off up in the hills in Heber. He couldn't speak English. I had no idea where he was. Oh my gosh, he was gone probably 2 hours, and I was frantic. And when he came home, I was, so upset. You can't do that. And I'm down on the driveway saying no, trying to make him. And he didn't know, because I didn't know that in Ethiopia, in his very rural village, the kids didn't have rules like that.
Well, it's which I love and miss. It's that everyone's outside playing.
Yep.
You play soccer.
Yep.
It's just different, We're
Totally.
not inside watching TV and different things like that. So
I'm
you're outside. And
not afraid of kidnappers, I think.
No, you're it's a village, and everyone knows each other.
Yep.
In town,
Yep.
or whatever it is, and you play outside. When it gets dark, you go home.
Yep.
Everyone knows who your parents are. You
Yep.
know. So I think that.
May I just say one thing?
You may.
May I?
You may.
So, I think that my big mistake was not knowing about the culture before. I did not go over with my husband. I had been to third world countries before for vacation and thought, this is not fun. and there's nothing I can do. So I don't want to go to Ethiopia and not be able to do anything.
Yeah, I think.
And so I didn't go until we had the kids 5 years, and then we took them all back, plus Matthew. And then I thought, okay.
This goes with what you're saying. So let's talk about the faith and religion in our upbringing and how it impacted our cultural identity.
Okay.
Because some part of the culture, right, is everyone knows, well, if you don't know, you know now, coffee is the birthplace of Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And I think for us, it's just like, it's a cultural thing. It's like, even if you're too young to drink coffee, you're raised like with
Well, were you ever too young to drink coffee?
Yeah, they don't let, like, you don't drink when you're really young, but you have, you know, you can have tea with bread and things like that. That's your breakfast of champions. So I think for us, we would, I think that was hard, is going from certain cultural things where it's okay to now it's like the religion is like, we don't drink coffee, there's no tea. And during that time we had our crosses. We don't wear crosses now, so it was.
But now it's totally accepted in our church.
Things, I guess. But during that time, it felt like, because especially if you know a lot of Orthodox Ethiopians, when you're born, when you're baptized, you wear a cross, and so it was like a thing where I remember Allie and I, we saved ours, and we would take pictures outside. And we would wear all our crosses and take cute pictures and stuff, but then we're like, hurry and take it off, because we just thought the way we were raised, it was like taboo, you don't wear it, you're not focusing on that.
I'm so sorry.
And then the other thing is we had coffee ceremony, so we would pick your plants and decorate it and like put milk in the microwave, because we always drink hot milk in Ethiopia, and just do certain things to keep like our little culture alive.
And we were trying to teach them to keep their culture.
Yeah.
And yet we were taking it away from them without even knowing. And they did. They carried their baby dolls on their back, and that was so cute.
For me, when it comes to the faith and the religion, I think it was just growing up, and I say it's a strict religion for me during that time. It was very strict.
It is.
And I think having family that was not part of that religion, and like growing up and feeling like this is the only true church, because this is my experience. I'm not bashing the LDS or anything like that. I'm just saying from my experience, it was very much like, this is the only true church, and like you're either this or you're going to hell, basically. And so I think that caused issues for me, because my biological mom and grandma, very religious, but they were Orthodox. And so I think I had this like whole identity issue of like, well, they drink coffee, they drink tea, they wear crosses, they go to different church, like, you know. So I think that spiritual aspect of it was always challenging for me, because it was always like, okay, but are they not good enough, you know?
See, and if I had known that you guys felt like that towards your family, I would have tried harder to explain that, they're good people. Of course they're good people. And of course
I talked to Dad about it.
Jesus loves you. Did he say that?
Yeah, he said,
I mean,
when you're 12, you get baptized for the dead. And he said, well, when you can get baptized for them, and they will choose the Mormon religion, because it's true. So we won't go deep into that religion, because, but
then I'll have to explain everything.
That is definitely religion for me played a part in it.
And I'm so sorry.
It was definitely like you have some identity issues, because you don't want to disappoint your family. Because I'm like, I wasn't doing anything crazy that I couldn't be, but it was the idea of like, well, what does that mean for my family? So I think I think these types of conversations, because I think Mormons do have, when you don't know about it, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I've had people ask if we had horns.
Oh, I had people ask that when I lived in Georgia.
Can you do? I'm just like, wait, what? So there's a lot of misconceptions about it. But speaking of misconceptions, what would you say the biggest one is about adoption?